Hello and welcome to the first edition of The Issues, where we will be bringing you analysis and perspectives on national issues of concern. I am Ayubaila. Thank you for joining. On the program today, the Federal High Court in Abuja sentenced a former chairperson of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Abdulrasheed Maina, to 8 years imprisonment for money laundering offences involving 2 billion naira in pension fund. The judge, Okon Abang, jailed Mr. Maina after convicting him and his company, Common Impute Property and Investment Limited, on all the 12 counts filed against them by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. According to News Agency of Nigeria, the judge sentenced Mr. Maina to various jail terms ranging from 3 to 8 years, which are to run concurrently. He jailed the convict 3 years for count 1, 5 years for count 2, 8 years for count 3, 8 years for count 4, 2 years for count 5, 5 years for count 6, and 8 years in count 7. He also sentenced him to 3 years in jail for count 8, 5 years for count 9, 8 years for count 10, 3 years for count 11, and 3 years for count 12. He ordered that the terms of imprisonment shall run concurrently beginning from October 2019, the date he was arraigned. It implies that Mr. Maina will spend the longest sentence, which is 8 years in jail. What is the implication of this on the fight against corruption in Nigeria? Oladipo Sanusi, a publisher and public affairs analyst, joins us to discuss this on the program. But before that, let's take a look at Maina's long walk to jail. Now, Maina's long walk to jail. In 2011, Abdulrasheed Maina was appointed as chairman, Presidential Task Force Team on Pension Reforms. In 2012, Maina was accused of fraud amounting to over 100 billion naira. He also failed to appear before Senate committee investigating the alleged fraud. In 2013, Maina was dismissed by Office of the Head of Civil Service from his position as Pension Reform Task Team Chairman and declared wanted by the EFCC. In 2013, Maina sued the Senate, IGP, and others to stop his arrest before going into hiding. In July 2015, the EFCC charged Maina, Steve Oronsaye, and others to court, but Maina, for the second time, failed to appear in court with others. In October 2017, Maina was secretly reinstated as director in the Ministry of Interior, but his reinstatement was reversed by the President, Muhammadu Buhari. The EFCC also launched a fresh manhunt for him. November 2019, EFCC rearranged Maina on fresh 738.6 million naira contract scam at FCT High Court. Now, in December 2020, Maina collapsed at the Federal High Court. What some will say, another gimmicks, deployed to delay the dispensation of justice. And in October 2021, Maina's son, Faisal, was sentenced to 24 years in prison. On 8 November 2021, Maina was convicted of 2.1 billion naira fraud. Now, quite a lot of items were forfeited to the federal government as a result of this, and some of them that was uncovered by the EFCC was listed. Now, the commission uncovered while investigating Maina property in Jabi, Abuja, worth $1.4 million, luxurious mansion in Dubai. Maina's company, Northridge Company, owned over 50 cars. Coastal Logistics, belonging to Maina, received an inflow of over $400,000 from cash deposits. Over 500 million naira was discovered in the amount of Congolo Dynamic. Within the years, Maina was chairman of the PRTT. Now, the company has never carried out any service or contract. Property worth $2 million in Jabi, Abuja. 2 counts belonging to Maina hold cash deposits of 300 million naira, 500 million naira, and 1.5 billion naira. Properties in the United Arab Emirates and the United States. Now, having established his sentencing, the court ordered Maina and his firm, Common Impute Property and Investment Limited, to restitute about 2.1 billion naira that was traced to their bank account to the federal government, after which it ordered that the company should be wound up. Very interesting, you may say, and that's quite a lot. Now, after the sentence was passed to him, something dramatic happened in court, where we saw a squabble between prison officials and officers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over whose custody Maina should remain. Now, that caused a whole lot of reactions on social media.
Where's our boss? Tell him to come here. Call the boss to come here. What are you going to use to stop him? What's the meaning of this? I was talking you for pushing me.
We should thank these judges that are at least using the current laws to convict some Nigerians. There are many cases for the last 15 years, nothing has happened, even within the current law.
The judgment is delivered, but if you tally it with the magnitude of the accusations against him, definitely speaking, it is a subject that will raise a lot of public outcry.
You are talking of the president, the vice president, the ministers. You are talking of the National Assembly. You are talking about judiciary. Can they pass a law to bring about death penalty in Nigeria?
By the time we go giving maximizing quantum of sentences on offenses, it will definitely not only serve as deterrent, but it will go a long way in sanitizing the morality aspect of our society.
This is at Demola A. Ogumokun Street here in Libcam, and behind me is one of the two houses that were said to have been forfeited to the federal government by the now convicted former pension boss Abdurrashid Maina. And this house was said to have worth $1.4 million. This is a house that was bought with the proceeds of that crime, talking about the stolen pension funds by Abdurrashid Maina.
In the studio to discuss this with me is Oladipo Sanusi, who is a publisher and also public affairs analyst. Good morning, and it's good to have you join us. Rather, I would say, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you.
Now, one would say that it took quite a while, for us to eventually see the prosecution of Abdurrashid Maina from 2012, when the allegation was first raised, up till 2021, more than 10 years. What's your reaction, first of all, to the whole judgment by the court?
Thank you, Ilya. My first reaction is knowing full well that every negative thing that happened to Nigeria has corruption as its base. Any pronouncement of conviction, no matter how comic it sounds, is a victory for Nigeria. Because I always want to see glass as half full rather than half empty. Any conviction at all, no matter how long it takes, is a plus. And it's a signal to the whole nation that somebody who has done this is not allowed to go scot-free like we have witnessed in the past. That is my immediate reaction.
Well, some will say that, well, this is someone who is responsible, I would say, for the death of many pensioners, because of this whole scam. Many pensioners who were expecting their money and didn't come through for one reason or the other. Some of them were sick and then eventually had to die, as a result of this. And because of that, some will say, well, this judgment, is it justifiable enough?
That was why I said my immediate reaction. I thought you would allow me to elucidate further. Because when you look at the drama, that this Maina issue has played for all of us to watch, is heart-rending. If you look at how he was given the appointment, how the new regime that came, that, I mean, pretended that is being investigated, had to even reinstate it again in 2017 in the Ministry of Interior. How that was possible? Maybe they thought all Nigerians are sleeping. I mean, no, it's something that nobody can even explain. So that was why I said my first reaction is, I mean, seeing, I mean, at least a glimpse of hope that one of the gang of, a member of the gang of thieves that have brought Nigeria to where we are today is down. But is it truly down? Because there is nothing that we have not seen in our country, Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate because, like you said, the drama that we saw after the conviction at the court, whereby the EFCC officials and the correctional facility officials were fighting to have Maina. A lot of people will want to be a prisoner like him. Because if going to prison is like that, then, I mean, nobody will run away.
I mean, from the pictures and the videos
that we saw, you could see like somebody who does not feel, no remorse, no feeling of it, is not sorry. So that tells us something. It goes beyond what we saw on the TV. Because if we look at our country and things that had happened in the past, you cannot beat your chest and say that this character, you'll find him in anywhere near any of our correction center. And if that happened, I'm sure it's only a very few Nigerians that will be surprised because of what, I mean, at least pretend that you are sorry. Pretend that, you felt, you are in front of camera. You could see him. He was smiling. Some people are struggling to even touch him, like the biblical, story of wanting to touch Jesus Christ when he was passing. So my brother, it's not, I wanted to start from the positive. That was why I said what I said. But if you look at the whole story from the beginning till the day of his conviction, you know that we have a long way to go in this country.
Now, the implication of this on the fight against corruption in Nigeria, if you look at what happened in 2017, where he was reinstated, even though he was still considered a fugitive, in the sense that he was still declared wanted at the time by the EFCC, but again, he was reinstated. So, does this, judgment now erase all of that we have seen, in 2017?
Well, even though I'm not a lawyer, but this is the only case, that EFCC took to court about Maina, and judgment have been given. I don't think we'll be called back to come and answer questions concerning how he got there, how he got reinstated here and there again. Because don't forget, there was this back and forth between the then Minister of Interior and the head of service then. There was a mild drama between the two of them sometimes ago at the villa during that first time of the current administration. So all that, there are so many things as you are talking about something now, something else is happening. So the one that is pending, nobody will go back there again. That is the country we have today. What we think is the news today, in the next few hours, something else will break. Everybody, including the media, will lose sight of what, they have been tracking, and everybody will go along with the current trend. Because even before you finish that one, another one is coming up. As far as I'm concerned, I want to believe that the conviction and the 8-year jail term, is the answer to whatever offenses he has committed, except a new charge is brought against him.
Also other dimensions to this is, some have said, look, he's not the only one involved in this. Yes, we've seen the conviction of his son, to 24 years imprisonment, on the one hand. But again, there are those who are also fingering banks and, other accomplices, involved in this, and whether or not they are also going to get, a trial as well.
That is why I said what we do in Nigeria is not fight against corruption. Because some of these characters couldn't have done what they have done to the country all alone. You need the cooperation of the bank. And when you get to the bank, at least you have not gotten to a level whereby, we are using robots. It is human beings that help in this transaction. Even though two banks have been named, Fidelity and UBA. But what about the officials of the bank that made it possible? So as far as I'm concerned, we are not doing enough. Because if you know that if I facilitate money laundering on your behalf, when you are caught, I'm definitely going to, also be caught. And I'm going to also, suffer the same, almost the same consequences with you. When you approach me, I will say no. But if it is only, that we go against the main man alone, and the rest go home to enjoy their loot, then what are we talking about? We are not doing enough. What is happening in the country as far as corruption is concerned demands more stringent measures than we are seeing. Even though this is punitive, we know if we are going to fight corruption, we must start from preventive. Because if you don't prevent it, it gets costlier pursuing it. And that is why most of the corruption cases do not get to a logical conclusion. So as far as I'm concerned, the officials of the banks or any other person, because there is need for proper tracing. Because if you, the last question you asked me, is it over? It shouldn't be over. It shouldn't be over. There are officials.
Now, I'm looking at whether or not we have lessons that have been learned, in this case, as regards how we select people that will head, bodies as sensitive as, bodies that are supposed to sanitize system. For instance, if you have, say, a body like the EFCC, some time ago, we also heard about how the former acting chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, was, suspended, and what happened before his suspension and all of that. Maina, in this case, was appointed to bring about some kind of reforms in the pension, fund. But again, unfortunately, it turns out that the very person who was appointed to sanitize the system is the one now, perpetrating some of the things that he is meant to, deal with. So as to the process of selecting people that will man those kind of offices, how much of scrutiny goes into, doing that? And is it just by mere political affiliation or kind of political compensation, or do we actually do due diligence to get to appoint these people?
My brother, we have a long way to go, like I said earlier. Because we are talking about Maina today. There are millions of other Mainas waiting to happen. Recruitment that you are talking about is not done in Ghana, is not done in Cameroon. It is from within us. And when you look at how corruption has hidden deep into the fabrics of our society, you almost say there is no hope. But unrepentant optimists like us feel that there is still a tomorrow. I will not sit down here and say all Nigerians are corrupt. No, there are good people. That is where what you're asking me to say comes in. There are still good people. So, but how do we get to good people? Our political process must be reformed in itself. Because who are the people at the helms of affairs of political parties? As far as we are concerned in Nigeria today, you cannot get to political office or get political office except you join a political party. At least, up till today, there is nothing like independent candidates. And if you have the wrong set of people as the people to scrutinize those who will get to political office, what do you get at the end of the day? Go out there. After all, we saw Maina on camera. We saw people, some Nigerians, maybe friends or what have you, that are still, seeing him as their Lord, running after him. They are also Nigerians. Some of them are waiting to occupy the position that Maina occupied and bolted away with over $2 billion. So we have a long way to go. And I always tell people, if we want solution, as myriad as Nigerians' problems are, the solution is also not as is not a rocket science. It is a solution that will come from you and I. You must be ready. You must, tell yourself that henceforth I will be doing the right thing. There is no amount of EFCC, police, or court that can change things the way we are going, because the next generation that did not see Awolowo, that did not see Tafawa Balewa, that did not, they only heard about them. Unfortunately, many of them still do not hear about them because history is not being taught in our schools again. The people they have seen, that the generation I'm talking about have seen, are the Mainas, are the governors that are languishing in jail now, are the governors that are stealing their state's money, are the local government chairmen that have turned the coffers of their local government into private accounts. Those are the people that they are seeing. And those are the people that will form their is it hero? I'm looking for the word. Their mentors. So talking about mentorship, we have it in a very limited supply in Nigeria of today. People that you can look at and say, oh, I want to be like this. So we have a long way to go. It is a decision for all of us to say, no, this is our country. Because when you look at what is happening, you say, is it that people don't like Nigeria as a country? Because how do you do this to your country? And
you know what, one may say maybe a classical example would be, you know, the Maina's son himself. Maybe he's the first recruit in the light of what you are saying.
Yes, look at it. You have a family, son in absentia sentenced to jail 14 years, father 8 years. What is there for that such a family to be proud of? The story, I am just over 50 years of age, but I'm very sure when we are growing up, you will not say you want to go to such a family to have anything to do with anybody there. Maybe to marry or what have you. The family of thieves. But today, that is the family of choice. Because they have money. How the money, how they came about the money, nobody wanted to know. So in other words, and son.
All right. Well, in other words, the society must frown at
we have a long way to go, well, and it is our solution. You and I must be ready to turn a new leaf that henceforth I will do the right thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We would have to end the discussion here. Thank you for coming and obliging us. Hopefully you join us again on the program.
Thank you.
Well, we've come to the end of the issues for today. Now you can catch up on our YouTube channel and also follow us across all social media in case you have missed. With that, we've come to the end. My name is Ayuba Ilya. See you and bye for now.